Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you hear me clearly. Do you hear me clearly? You can type a text on the chat box. Let me know that you hear me. Do you hear me? Great. Okay. Thank you, everyone, and welcome to the tips and tricks for this month of May. All right. If you are joining us for the first time, welcome. If you have been with us before now, welcome back. This is the 16th edition of the Dr. Nwaru's research tips and tricks. So this is one of the ASFI's programs in which we use 1 hour once every month to highlight some topical issues in research to support what we do and to allow us to generate new information. All right, so welcome. I'm here and my name is Bright Nwaru, and I am joining you from Sweden. I have my colleague, Dr. Ajibola Oladejo. So she'll be putting some links there and interacting with you if you have any questions. This is the 16th edition, and so if you have not joined before, we have you covered in our YouTube channel, ASFI YouTube channel. The previous editions are there, and I don't think you would like to miss any of the previous editions. So please go there. These are very, very much capacity building programs. Okay, so today we'll be looking at how to peer review. Effective tips for early career researchers. Of course, I chose to make it early career researchers, but this concerns everyone. Perhaps you have been reviewing before now, and you have not had any formal orientation on it, or you are an old researcher, but you have not been reviewing. So this will cover you. And if you're an early career researcher, you have been doing it or you have not been doing it, I think everyone has something to gain from this session to take forward. All right, so let me go straight to the point here. I will send you out for 10 minutes. I'll send that for 10 minutes. And please take the picture of what you see on your screen. I would like you in your group to briefly discuss this. What you have you peer reviewed before? Is this something you like to do or like doing? Do you find peer review easy or difficult to perform? What makes it easy for you? What makes it difficult for you? So when you go to your breakout session, discuss this and appoint one person who will come to use 1 minute as usual, 1 minute to tell us your viewpoint. So quickly do this. In 10 minutes, I will bring you back here. So the rooms are open. Select your room. You're automatically assigned. So select your room and then join. Let's do it in 10 minutes. We come back here. All right. Who is speaking for group number 1? Please raise your hand. Group number 2, also raise your hand. Group number 3. Let's take it from there. Who is speaking for group number 1? To tell us what you discuss in 1 minute. Please make it snappy. Who is speaking for group number 1? No one. Group number 2, who is speaking for group number 2? No one. Okay, I have David. David, can you speak? I'm not hearing you. Who is speaking for group number 1? Group number 2? Lucy, you're raising your hand from your room, and I was expecting your digital hand. All right, Lucy, unmute yourself and speak.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. We were in group 2. We started off as 7 members and we ended up at 14 members. And the 14 members, 6 indicated that they've not peer reviewed. 1 had done 1 peer review and 4 had peer reviewed at least 2 or 3 papers. And their experiences were, the difficulties experienced were that the time was short. They were given like 2 or 3 days to deliver, and yet it really involves a lot of work. And another one said that the paper that was sent for the review was out of their knowledge area, so they were not able to review. And while we thought there was, there could have been some monetary gain, the people who had peer reviewed said there was no money given to them apart from a certificate. Thank you.
All right, so those who have reviewed, they didn't tell you whether it's something they love doing.
They said that they would love to do some more, especially if they're properly trained, and they actually look forward to getting a good opportunity to know what to do in this training.
All right, great. Okay, who is speaking for group number 3? Group number 3, who is speaking for group number 3? All right, is it David? David, is it you? Okay, Jerry. Jerry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's actually supposed to be David, but I'm sure maybe his network is bad. Maybe that's why he's, yeah. So we were about 13, no, 13, not about, sorry. We were 13 in the group. 7 in the group said they haven't reviewed before. And the remaining answered concord that they have reviewed. And those, the 3 who responded basically said they love to review. They love to review. It wasn't difficult for them. And the reason why it wasn't difficult for them because the review was in their areas of interest. And also the review had the format in which they followed to actually review the paper. Then what was difficult in the review? Well, the answer was that the review wasn't difficult per se, but what makes it difficult sometimes when there's no time and you have to review the paper, now you are running against time and the review. So that makes it kind of difficult for them to do in time. So basically, this is the response that we captured. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jerry, for that. Okay, so that is what we will be doing, and if we take the statistics from group number 2 and group number 3, so we can actually infer that in the room here we are 50. House will soon be 55. Half of us have half has reviewed and half has not. That's a good number, really. For those who have and for those who have not have, there is something to take home this afternoon. All right, so let's get into it. Okay, so I think it's a very pertinent question to really ask, why do we engage in peer review? You know, in human affairs, something starts from somewhere, okay? And it is in our character as human beings, as whatever develops, progresses, it is in our character to get so used to it that we can be doing it without knowing that we are doing it. So we have some unconscious behavior without asking, why am I even doing what I am doing in the first place? All right. And so this has become so common that generations born into our space starts doing it without asking, why am I doing this? All right. But I think it is very important in our development to always have this retrospective reflections, especially when it comes to research, science. It is very important. I was this afternoon, if you are an ASFI member, this afternoon, I think it was in ASFI membership forum that Marian posted something this. Let me just check that. Yeah, Marian posted this, which is quite interesting to me. It's I think it's a Kenyan paper. It says Africa requires 1 million scientists to spur growth. Africa requires 1 million scientists to spur growth. And if you have been joining us on this platform, and you are doing research and you're pursuing, you are a scientist, and scientists here, we use it on this platform very broadly. So if you're a theologian, we refer you as a scientist. If you're an agriculturist, you're a scientist. If you're a medical person, a scientist. If you're an accountant, it doesn't matter. As far as you engage in a systematic inquiry of knowledge, that is what we mean by science. So Africa requires 1 million scientists to spur growth. All right. But I've not read the paper. I think it needs quantification or qualification of this here, because Africa has scientists. But many times, if we take a survey of who are here, you see that many of us are actually pursuing our science and research to advance our career. Some are pursuing to enlarge our pockets. But I think what they're looking for here is what we are preaching on this platform. Those who have put on the coats of science to make a change in our societies. If that is not your motivation, then in fact, this is not a place to be, because we'll make it very uncomfortable. Or well, we'll make it nicely comfortable for you to see that beyond your career, there is actually a bigger goal you aim to achieve. And that is why we do what we do. All right, now we do what we do. The question is, how do we do it to ensure it is embedded in quality, it is embedded in impact, it generates trust as scientists. And in 1942, you have this Robert Menton, have shown this across our trainings, who provided what he called ethos or values. He said science has 4 core values. I won't go through the other 3, but the last one, he says organized skepticism. All right, one of the values of science is organized skepticism. You may ask, what does that mean? That's actually what we are talking about this afternoon. It says that scientists should not take findings at face value. So if your colleague comes and publishes something, your goal is not to jump to the coffee room and say, yeah, of course you can do that, but you go back to ask, what did they do? How did they do it? What did they find? All right? Because the goal of what we do is to influence our society in a positive way. So if we do research that is not of high quality, then we tend to provide evidence that is suboptimal. And some evidence can actually be injurious because it is not finding that is supported with good evidence. And so if you apply such findings, you may harm the society. So it's important that we do not take findings at face value. Scrutiny should be strictly part of the process. Active peer review process is indispensable. It's indispensable. So we do peer review because we want to ensure that the evidence we provide has gone through a scrutiny process, and that provides confidence in using that evidence. All right? And then we start doing this. We start doing it. And over time, what happens? The process is also abused. The process is also abused. Listening to the presenters from different groups now, and you can see that the process has been so abused. In the last tips and tricks, we talked about predatory journals. That has become the big elephant in the room of scientific advancement, predatory journals. And so you send your paper to a journal, a predatory journal, and on the other side, somebody receives it. And he and his wife, they are these hungry guys who are looking for means to make money, and they bring it, and they say, yeah, we have sent it to peer review, and they say your paper is very nice, and tomorrow they give you a decision, and you pay $150 or $200, and the next day they tell you it is published, and they pocket the money, and you are happy, yeah, I have published one. But that is not what is required. That is not the right way to do it. That is not what will solve problems in our society. We need to provide a clear process where scrutiny, serious scrutiny, can be part of the process. And so for the people who actually did peer review, I say giving them 3 days, that is already a sign that that journal is a predatory journal. For no serious journal that knows that peer review is not a child's play, and knows that scientific advancement is not a child's play, and knows that a piece of research that has been done is not a child's play, any serious journal will give you at least 2 weeks, to process that. because you are not working for them. In majority of the cases, you are not paid. You're a Santa Claus. If you are a scientist, you do many things free of charge. All right. That is our call. So if you receive a paper from any journal that says, please return it in 3 days, that is a sign to say, I won't review, because it is rare, if not impossible, for any serious journal to give you that timeline. The point I'm making here is peer review is a process that we have developed to ensure that what we do as scientists embeds trust, both amongst the scientists themselves and as well as the consumers, the society, policymakers, ordinary people, non-scientists, and so on and so forth. All right. So it is an important endeavor. But what it is, or what is it? What is peer review? It's a process used to evaluate the validity, quality, and originality of a scientific work. Its overarching goal is to ensure the integrity of science through filtering out invalid or poor quality works from the valid and high quality works. You can see that. And why do we do that? Okay. We have a course that is going on, the SFI Quality, Productivity, and Impact course. And at the beginning of the course, one of the things we did was to go through what we call case studies of scientific fraud and misconduct. And you can see that many papers out there have been published in top-ranking journals of the world, top-ranking journals. In fact, some scientists have published several of them, tens of them. All right. And those publications have taken their career to another level. But eventually, we find out that what they have published is fraud. There is huge misconduct in the process. But the problem is that they still pass through this scrutiny, meaning that their papers were peer reviewed, the fraud was not detected, it was later on. So, in as much as the goal of the peer review process is to detect these frauds, to separate what is invalid from what is valid, to separate what is of poor quality from what is of high quality, many times we fail in achieving that. We fail. You know, what happens? What happens is that the scientists have become like the African mosquito. The African mosquito. The African mosquito is one of the very, very, very smart things around Africa. If you develop a strategy to kill them, they develop a strategy to escape. Yeah, that they are very smart. That smart, really, they are. And so scientists have also, even though we have this process of trying to detect, scientists have also developed ways to escape that. But would that stop us from doing what we should do? No. We'll have to continue to do it. We'll have to continue to do it. All right. So this is what peer review is. What does it do? It's a quality control system. It helps us to ensure checks and balances. It's a gatekeeping process of science. It is the very essence of science. It's a tool for advancement of knowledge. Is the only way. Is the only way. But as I said, it often fails. The only way to guide against fraud, misconduct, mistakes, overstatement is the promoter of research integrity. And finally, is also a platform for development of capacity. And so for the junior researchers, early career researchers, if you have not engaged in peer review before, I will encourage you to find opportunity to do that, and I will tell you one way you can start to do that within the ASFI space. At the end of the presentation, I will tell you that, because it is one way to help you to develop. There are a lot of things you will learn from doing peer review. It opens your mind. You do it within your scope of your expertise, and then you begin to see that it helps you to develop. You know what is happening out there. It can help you to fine-tune your own ideas. Eventually, it helps you to grow. The importance of peer review means that rigor, objectivity, unbiased criticisms, and transparencies are indispensable ingredients and conditions of that process. All right. And that is why when you accept to do peer review, they want you to declare any conflict of interest, because it is wrong. If you want to ensure validity and quality, it is wrong for you to review the paper of your friend. It's wrong for you to review the paper of your husband, of your wife, because there is a conflict of interest. It will not be objective. All right. So if you want to get it right. So this is how it works. This is how the peer review process works. Authors submit their papers. The paper is assessed by the editor. At this level, the editor can reject it. And most often why it's rejected here is because it is outside the scope of the journal. It's rejected. It's not an indicator that your paper is not good. All right. You may submit a paper to a journal that is not publishing things around the topic you have submitted. All right. So they reject it. But if they think that it's within the scope of what they do, they send to reviewers, and the reviewers will assess and then send back their reviews to the editor. And the editor can choose to reject, can choose to accept, can tell you to do revision. All right. So this is where you work as a reviewer. Take the paper that has been submitted, sent to you from the editor to review it. This is another framework of how this works. All right, types of peer reviews. You have single blind. All right. The identity of the authors is hidden from the reviewers, or the identity of the reviewers hidden from the authors. Single blind peer review. You have double blind, in which both the reviewers and the authors do not know themselves. You have triple blind peer review, in which the editors and the authors and the reviewers do not know themselves. All right. This is not common. It's not common, but you can find. Then you have open peer review, in which everybody knows everybody. And in this case, in many journals, the editors, the reviewers' comments and the author's response to the comments are published alongside the paper. This is common nowadays. And you have post-publication peer review, in which Readers, the public, those who have access to what has been published can send in their comments as well. And then you have this very uncommon one, transferable peer review, of course, where the paper is sent to another journal, third-party peer review. These are uncommon, but these are very common ones, except this. All right. 4 guiding principles for being a considerate reviewer. You see, what we are doing here is not war. It's not show of your intellectualism. It's not that show. It is actually a process of ensuring that what is published out there meets the minimum standard of the scientific process. All right. So when you do it, you have to do it with empathy. You have to do it with understanding. You have to do it with the ultimate goal that this is done to enhance what we are doing as scientists. All right. So you need to be considerate in doing it. You know, I didn't mention here you have to be sympathetic. I say you have to be empathic. Oh. So it's not being sympathetic. You have to be objective. And you have to ensure that what is published has a good standard. So bear that in mind. Okay. The next slide. So the first principle is be critical but constructive. All right. You can even see, you see people who are discussing in a group. Sometimes we send people breakout session and somebody will write me, I didn't feel welcome in my group. Some people were making some comments against what I was doing. Some, you know, the focus is to improve what has been done, be constructive. It's not a war. It's not a tug of war. It's not a place where you show what you have read. When I was at the university, I was in my bachelor, and my teacher would say that, you know what PhD means? You know what PhD means? PhD means pull him down, pull her down. So when someone has attained that, I'm a doctor, then they begin to show, no, it's not, that is not what it is. So just keep it, just keep those too much strength you have in your kitchen and go out. So be considerate. Don't let your, because if you're reviewing in an animus way, don't use that opportunity to begin to, you know, show, begin to make statements. That is not what we aim here. The goal is, if you're rejecting a paper, reject it objectively, reject it constructively. Let your criticism be a criticism that will help to improve what is being done. All right. Reject it respectfully. Meet the deadlines. If you have been given, meet the deadlines. And as I told you, don't, when you have a paper, they say, please, can you get it back tomorrow? Can you get it back in 3 days? That's not a good sign of the quality of that journal. So be realistic. If you can't meet the deadline, please kindly write them. And usually in serious journals, they will ask you if the timeline we have sent to you is not acceptable to you, please let us know. They can send it to elsewhere, or they can extend the time for you. That is the second principle. Maintain anonymity. Confidentiality regarding the paper you're reviewing is a must. Please, confidentiality is a must. In the journals where you are blinded, please maintain the blinding, but if it's an open peer review, yeah, that is fine. You have to know that the authors will know who you are eventually. So think about that before you accept to review. Avoid bias. Research is a small word, so if you have any conflict of interest, make them known as soon as they become apparent. So don't go and accept, oh, I know this this was my teacher, this my teacher dealt with me. It's my time to read. This is your paper. As far as I'm reviewing it, you can't, it won't be published. Nope. I hope I'm making sense. All right, steps to doing it. Steps to doing it. When you receive the paper and you think that you want to do it, you want to review it, then have a first quick read through. When you are doing this, you are trying to gain an initial impression. You're trying to gain an initial impression. Okay? So have a first quick read through, and you'll be asking questions in your mind. What is the main question addressed by the research? Is it relevant, interesting? How original is it? What does it add to the subject area? Is the paper well written? Is the text clear and easy to read? Are the conclusions consistent with the evidence and arguments they have presented? Do they address the main questions posed? If the author is disagreeing significantly with the current academic consensus, do they have a substantial case? And then so on and so forth. When you do this quick read, you may come to a point where you say, well, this paper is of poor quality. It's really poor quality. Even though you have not read it in detail, but that is the impression you have got. You can reject at this level. All right? You can reject. And often you can even see from the abstract that this is not a quality paper. You can. So if there are serious flaws in the paper, you can reject. All right. The second one is now a thorough read. If the paper has made some good impression on you and you think that you can walk through it, then have a thorough read. You start with the abstract. The title, the abstract, the keywords. Does the abstract properly reflect the subject of the paper? Does the abstract provide an accessible summary of the paper? Do the keywords accurately reflect the content of the paper? Is the paper an appropriate length? Are the key messages short, accurate, and clear? All right. Remember, scientific writing is a communication tool. If you have not attended our course, SFI course on the art of scientific writing, you need to. I tell you, when you do, your life will not be the same. I'm not bragging, okay? At least those who know that. I'm not bragging. I am not bragging. I tell you, your eyes will be so open. You say, wow. That is true. And I hope somebody agrees with me, those who have attended. It's true. You'll be able to deal with some of these issues. Offer clear suggestions for how the authors can address the concerns raised. In other words, if you're going to raise a problem, provide a solution. Do you get that? That is the essence. Don't go and begin to write problems. This paper is not this paper is that, this paper is not this paper. Provide solution. Because we are living in a world where we want to ensure that what goes out there to the public has meaning. All right? So, language. Is the paper well written? Are the expressions and meanings clear? Every language, do you understand core messages that has been written in using the language? So because it is scientific writing is a communication tool, we want to communicate really. We want to be understood. And you know, communication, the best communication you can have is simple communication. So simplicity is an art of communication that you have to admire and work for. Grammar, spelling, punctuation. Your primary task is to evaluate the content of the research actually, all right? The scientific basis, the methods to make that assessment. Your goal is not to polish the grammar. Some people who do not know what to say about the content begin to, this construction here is weird. This is archaic. This is not good English. Nope, don't worry about that. You can point out if some things, you have grammatical errors and issues, you can point them out, but know that before they are published, usually the journal will ensure that the grammatical issues are fixed. All right. All right. Okay, introduction. I know what introduction is. Yeah. We have the funnel and what's the other one? What's it called? Okay, I will remember that. So in introduction, you have the funnel, funnel and cone, the funnel shape. All right, the introduction sets the scene for what the paper is trying to address. All right, so it sets the scene. It raises the hunger. It raises the taste. It summarizes what is known on that topic. It highlights what is not known in the gaps. And then it tells you where it wants to go and how it's going to address that. The gap it wants to fill, it tells you that. All right, so that is what introduction does. So it provides a picture of what the problem is. It tells you the problem and supports that with relevant literature. And it tells you where we are coming from, what we know, what we don't know, and what the goal of that paper is. What is trying to be goal? What is trying to feel? What is trying to feel? All right. So your assessment of the introduction should focus on this. Have the authors clearly provided the motivation of what they are doing, the goal, have they highlighted the gaps in that evidence? The materials and methods, you know, I say here, when I review a paper, this is where I go first. Once I've read the introduction to see what they have, this I can read the materials and methods alone and make my decision, because this section is the most important aspect of the research, the most important aspect. Because if what you have done is invalid, it's not reliable, it's not good, then whatever you have found cannot stand on anything. It's standing on a sinking sand. So what you have done is important. The materials and methods are important. Are the study materials and methods clearly described? Is it easy to reason for readers to understand what was actually done? Research methods valid and reliable? Are the methods used reproducible? The methods robust and meets the requirement for best practices. I have the right statistical analysis methods used, ethical standards followed. If best practices are not met, then you reject the paper. If ethical standards are not followed, then reject the paper. If the overall methods are questionable, then reject the paper. You see, we are not even asking what did they find. No, it doesn't make any sense whatever they have found if the methods section are filled with flaws. All right. I hope this is ringing a bell. The results. The focus of the result is what did the study find? Once you have implemented your method, you have taken your sample, you have used your materials, and you have implemented your methods, what did they find? That is what the results section does. Has the study population clearly been described? What happened when the study methods were implemented? What was discovered in the study? Are the results presented in a logical and coherent manner? Is there any evidence of cherry picking in presenting the findings? Does the presentation of the result tell a coherent story? And I hope you actually understand what cherry picking means when you begin to look through the microscope. Oh, let's take this one. Now, the goal is that your result will reflect your goal of the aim of your study. All right. Discussion, the focus of discussion is putting the study findings into context and highlighting its implication. All right. That is what you do. And this is what the goal, isn't it? I don't want us to get into the funnel and cone argument, which often comes in the art of scientific writing course. But yeah, the introduction starts with the big picture and ends with what you're going to do, small picture. The discussion starts with a small picture of what you found and then start highlighting that in the context of the extant literature. So the discussion needs to present this fact. Conclusion, the conclusions reflects whether the study aims have been achieved or not. Tables and graphics and figures. The picture is worth more than 1,000 words. You have to follow the standard of producing pictures, tables, graphics that actually reflect the current standard. And then check references for accuracy, for adequacy, and balance. And then the big elephant in the room nowadays, plagiarism. Are there concerns with plagiarism? Then your review report. Usually, in many cases, the journal will give you a format of how they want you to report this. Use the format if you have. If not, then follow the following structure. The first one is provide a summary of the paper. First, give positive feedback of what you have done, of what you have seen, you have read. Then briefly summarize the content of the manuscript, briefly. So give a summary and the importance of the work, strength and limitations of the work, and then major issues, highlight major flaws in the work. Does the work require major revisions? Specify them, and which aspect of the paper does those revisions pertain to? Specify. Are there ethical issues? So you provide those. Minor issues, then this can be minor mistakes, ambiguous meanings, and things like that. You provide for them to take care of. And then you begin to write the reports. You have things you write for the authors to work on and improve. And then you have the confidential comment you send to the editor. And the confidential comment you send to the editor, you may highlight things like malpractices you have noticed in the paper, highlight issues of plagiarism you have noticed, you have highlight fraud or concerns you notice in the paper. And then you make the recommendation. Does paper worth accepting at that round? Or would you recommend that they make revision? A revision can be minor revision, can be major revision, depending on the nature of things you want them to do. It can also be rejection. Each recommendation you have made, whether acceptance, revision, or rejection, should elaborate the reason for your recommendation. Top 10 considerations when peer reviewing. Top 10 considerations. Respond promptly to invitations, show integrity and confidentiality, stay within the scope of the paper, be constructive and help the paper improve, allocate enough time to review, be consistent in your comments, meaning that if you have sent information or confidential information to the editor, let that be within the scope of what you also send to the authors. Focus on the research, no sidetracks. Don't begin to look for the author's name and say, oh, I know this person. You say, well, it doesn't even need to be reviewed. This person does a good work. No, it is still work. It's not the person. It's not the person. Not where the person has come from, not the institution. Oh, this person is, I'm reviewing a paper from Harvard. Wow. Nope. It is the work. Okay. There are rats everywhere. In fact, there are mosquitoes everywhere. It's just that some mosquitoes don't give malaria. So look at the conclusion first. Check robustness of facts. Give credit where it's due. If the authors have done something good, then state it. All right, that is my last slide for today's tips and tricks, and I hope you have picked something from here. My math teacher used to tell me, I give you 30% bright, 70% is your self-discovery. So if you want to get into this, you can read more. The slides will be provided. Please, before we end, put your email on the chat box. If you want to have the slides, put your email on the chat box and we will come to you. Put your email there. Put your email there. All right, we have the 17th edition of the tips and tricks, thinking through a thesis, purpose and structure. On the 30th of June, we'll be looking through this. Many of you are working on your thesis, PhD, master, and so on. So please join us on the 30th of June. What is the purpose of a thesis? What is the structure of a thesis? And then after that, we have other ones, effective literature review in your thesis, cover letter, CVs, and so on and so forth as future topics. And the place we have our science seminar series. The 5th edition for this year comes up on Sunday, 28th of May. We'll be looking at journal publishing in the biological, chemical, and agricultural sciences in Africa. Please join us as we work with the panelists to look at these issues. All right, if you have not joined the SFI membership bandwagon, please join and come to see what is happening there. Lots of things are happening there, lots of benefits, lots of discussions. Please join this, join us. And then we have the long-awaited data analysis course coming up in July. The deadline for application is 30th June. Don't miss this opportunity. Those of you who are want to learn how to work through data analysis, please don't miss that. Now, okay, what I mentioned, if you want to put what you have looked at this afternoon into practice, Dr. Oladejo can put this email on the chat box there. If we have the SFI Made in Digital Conference coming up in November, and we are actively looking for reviewers. We're actively looking, don't be shy. You can try it. You can try it. We will have orientation day for those who are interested. We'll have orientation day to guide them on how they can do this. But the knowledge you have got from here can help you. So send your CV to this address, and then we will select from that and come back to you. So please do us a favor, and the links are here. This is all I have for you this afternoon. So I hope I have not missed anything. I wish you a wonderful weekend. You can meet yourself. Have a good weekend, everyone. All right. See you.